want to talk about the Analogue Nt.
You want to get to that right now?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Analogue Nt.
Because, I don't know, I have a lot of thoughts on that one. So the Analogue Nt, and first of all, let's start with the company Analogue, because I've been following them for a little while.
They actually sent me a press release a couple days ago when it was announced.
Analogue is a company, it's funny that their name is Analogue, because it's not really Analogue anything, who makes, basically, they're well known for consoleized MVS systems that usually run over $1,000. They're very pretty. They're usually encased in maple or ash. They're all hardwood.
Let's explain real quick what a consoleized MVS is. People don't know.
Yeah. So, and what that is it's when they take the internals of an MVS arcade unit.
Neo Geo.
Yeah, a Neo Geo MVS unit. Okay, great. And
well, now everyone knows that.
They turn it. For listening to this podcast, they probably do. So they take the internals of a Neo Geo MVS unit, which is the stand-up arcade unit, and they turn it into a console. Now, why would they want to do that when there's an AES on the market, which is the Neo Geo home system? Well, the reason is all of the games for the MVS are drastically cheaper than the AES. So you can play the exact same game for cheaper if you just take this board and get it into a small enough workable size that you can put it in your entertainment center. So they make boutique products, and they make very pretty boutique products. It works for something like the Neo Geo collector scene because it's a scene that has a lot of money to throw around anyway.
Yeah, we're talking the high-end Cadillac collectors. You got to have bank in order to collect Neo Geo games.
Yeah, you think because you have a Radiant Silver Gun or a Rondo of Blood, you know, or even a little Samson that you're some high-end collector. No, these are Rolls Royce guys, and it shows in their attitudes for a lot of it too. But anyways, these are nice looking things. So what they've announced that they're coming out with is Analogue is now making the NT, which is, it's not a consoleized MVS. It is an NES and a Famicom in one unit. And it's got 4 controller ports on the front, naturally, so that, you know, any of the 4 score games will work.
Which is interesting. I'll get into that in a bit. Why I decided to do
that. It also has a bunch of options for video out. And it's made out of one solid machine milled piece of aluminum. It's very striking looking. It's nice. It's $500, and when you look at how this is being made, because it's not a reproduction or a clone system, they are making essentially their own boards, utilizing parts from old Famicoms, old Famicom machines.
Yeah, I would say that they're not coming out and saying it, but being that they're using the original Nintendo PPU and CPU, they're cannibalizing either Famicom and or NESs. I'm saying they're probably mostly cannibalizing Famicoms.
A combination, right? So, you know, the cost when you look into what they're doing to make the board, the fact that if you look into the grade of aluminum they're using, that a block of that stuff's really expensive to begin with. The case is expensive to begin with. Plus the machining, plus everything they're doing. The price point might not be too far off, but that doesn't justify it to me, because you're dealing with an entirely different set of collectors. You're dealing with a different monetary base.
Let's back up. This is going to output native RGB signal.
Yes.
Which, if you don't know, it's just a clearer, more vibrant, pure color.
Yeah.
And it looks nicer.
Sure.
Especially if you have an RGB monitor. It really comes out. But even if you don't, it looks better. There's also going to be Hdmi upscaling without stretching it, so keeping it the right 4:3.
There will be Famicom disk system support.
Yeah, you can expand. You can use the expansion.
It's got the expansion.
Which again leads you to believe that it's probably a Famicom.
Right. So I mean, the features are nice, and the price, when you look at the breakdown of what they're using to construct it, is fine. I just don't see this selling as well, because when you look at Nintendo collectors, when you look at Famicom collectors, these are people who, they may have money to spend on it, but these are, and I don't mean this in a bad way, this is a thriftier collecting market. Now, a lot of people do seem interested in it. I've seen plenty of people say that they're signing up for it, but I just don't see a $500 Nintendo selling as well for Analogue as their consoleized MVS is at twice the price, because it's just a different market.
Yeah, I mean, it's one thing about Neo Geo. Neo Geo is like the Cadillac of retro game systems.
Right.
It's literally the arcade system you're playing. The games are beautiful looking.
Yeah.
The shooters are incredible. All the moving, the graphics are insane for the time. So I can see that, especially since it's expensive to begin with to get. An NES or Famicom is not expensive to begin with. And plus, if you're going to be upscaling NES games onto an LCD TV, I guess it's like, do you really need that to play Super Mario Brothers? Like, is that really part of the experience to the extent that it is for Neo Geo to get vibrant, great colors? I mean, I just don't know who the target audience for this is.
Right. Why not just get an NES and a CRT? And that you bring up a good point, because if you're gonna go out and you want it, say you're in the market to get into Neo Geo, right? And you're looking at an AES, and those are expensive to begin with, and then you're like, hey, this MVS stuff is a lot cheaper games wise. You start factoring in cost. You start factoring in maybe the first 20 games that you would want for the AES. You look at pricing. You might be able to rationalize a really nice consoleized MVS and hardwood because you're going to be saving money on the games. But this doesn't offer you that benefit with the NES. You're not really saving any money on games in exchange for buying this nicer system.
Yeah, it's strange. The whole thing is just weird to me. Why are there 4 controller ports when you can use a? I mean, it's cool, but why is that there? Like, most people are not going to be playing 4-player games, and if you do, you buy a 4-score for like $7 to play. It's a cool idea, though.
Frankly, I think that's just a nice addition. That is one of the things I looked at and I went, hey, that's neat. Not because I think a lot of people would use it, but if you're going to charge $500 for it,
you might as well have
go
everything
all
there.
out. Yeah, go all out. So, I mean,
saying?
that is one of the things that I really do like about it. That's very cool, I think. That
So you think that, do you think, before we get into more who's going to buy this, do you think that it's a fair price point? Do you really think it's a fair price point?
I don't know. I just briefly looked into it, and I'm not a master of machining. I mean, I think that they could probably get away with $350 or $400 for it, but a lot of what I did read on some forums from people who knew that stuff is that the casing alone is probably accounting for about half the cost.
So you think that'll prevent people from buying it? I mean, let's be honest. They're not going to move 1,000 of these things.
Well, no, and they don't have to, which is one of the reasons why
they might not move 300 of these things.
I think a lot of the people who are overreacting to the pricing are thinking that this is something that they're going to try to mass produce on the level of a Retron 3.5 FC Twin, which they're not. If you go to get like one of their consoleized MVSs, they're almost always out of stock because they make them in very small batches because they know they can only move them in limited numbers. So I don't think they're going to hurt. I think people's interpretation of what the availability of something like this is going to be is a little bit wrong. They're not trying to mass produce this.
What do you think? Like about 150 of these you think they made? If that?
I think they will look at the pre-orders, they will fill the pre-orders, and they'll probably machine 50 more and see what happens from there. I mean, we're talking very limited run.
Okay, yeah. Like I said, I said, yeah, I don't think they'll sell 300 of these.
No.
There's who's the market for a $500 NES?
Right.
Who's there are big time collectors that have that coin. They're going to look at this and be like, okay, that is cool. Maybe it's a prestige piece that, hey, I can afford a $500 NES. But I have no interest in something like this, personally. I have no interest.
No, I think that's what it is. I think it's a status symbol. I think the only people you're
it's like a gold necklace to put around your neck, basically?
Yeah, the only people I think who would be really interested in this are people who have complete sets. Because anyone who looks at, I can pay $500 for Nintendo or knock another expensive game off my list, I think is going to knock that expensive game off their list before they go and buy this. I think this, for some people, might just be that crowning oddity that they want to have. Because NES collectors, see, I know the hardcore Neo Geo collectors get, particularly you got to play it on NES, consoleized MPS doesn't count, but this is still a third-party product. This is the other thing about it. I don't care how official the chipsets are or how much original product.
It's cannibalized.
It's still cannibalized and it's still made by a third party. So I guess it does go back to who is this for? If you're in the market for a consoleized MVS, you already know that what you're getting is a cannibalized bastardization of something, and it's a nice way of making it look. But in NES, why not just go buy the original hardware?
Yeah, I mean, for what this is doing, there's like high fidelity sound. Obviously, there's the upscaling. You can get your NES modded to do a lot of this. Yeah. And it's not going to cost you close to $500.
Go buy a FrameMeister or another sort of upscaler for $300 and make all your systems look really nice. I mean, there's like I said, it's neat. And if I was filthy rich with nothing better to spend my money on, I would maybe think about it. But even then, I just don't know that I'd buy it. I'm not sure who they're targeting. So
it has RGB, output native, component, S-video, and composite. And then the HDMI adapter, they don't include it. It's sold separately, the HDMI adapter. You'll be able to connect your HD TV with HDMI, upscaling directly from RGB to 1080p or 720p. Again, I'm not sure what that's going to do to an NES game, and are you going to care? It can even generate scan lines. Okay, so you're gonna upscale. You're gonna upscale something that is 224 times what? 220 or 240 times 220 resolution NES games to something.
I mean, the more we talk about it, I mean, I remember reading about the scale lines. This sounds like this is the Nintendo for someone who is too embarrassed to keep a CRT TV around their apartment, their house, because they have too much money and the neighbors will look down on them.
Their neighbors, their Beverly Hills neighbors, are gonna be like, "Oh, what is that? Oh,
yeah.
Panasonic. What is this square thing, Lovey?"
So, I mean, I don't know. I think it's neat, and I don't even really have any issue with Analog, because this is just their niche, is making weird, pretty versions of consoles. But it made more sense to me, even at twice the price point. It makes more sense to me with the MVS than it does with the NES.
Sure, because that's the market. Again, this is like, there's no like 12-year-old kid's going to care about this. I don't care about this. It's going to be very few people are going to buy into this. But maybe that's what they're. Maybe they figure, hey, if we can sell 50 of these, we've made some coin and we're good.
Yeah, for all I know, they're artists who have. I mean, they just want to do it, and they want to see if they want to throw it out there and see if anyone else wants one. I mean, maybe it was just a passion project for them. Who the hell knows? I have a feeling that stuff like this has to be. I mean, in the first place to begin with.
For an extra $50, you can get anodized color options. You can get black, pink, blue, or red.
Ooh, I want to take one.
So then, I don't think this is just a passion project. Then, if they're going to be able to have different colors of it.
Well, I mean, if you're charging $500,
and it's $50 for the, or $49 for the HDMI adapter upscaler, which is the exclusive pre-order price. So that means it could be more than that.
Yeah, I mean, we're getting into way too much just to play NES games.
Now we're getting into weird territory, because now I'm on the actual website. This is okay. Now I'm starting to get annoyed. They are going to charge from the website. You can get a brand new OEM NES controller. I'm not sure how it's brand new, for $49 each. $29 for a refurbished NES controller, $29 for a refurbished Famicom controller. What?
Well, I mean, that once again, this is them trying to appeal to the MVS or the Neo Geo market and doing it poorly.
Well, they think they're going to get a lot of trust fund kids, or that are going to come on the site and be like, oh, I don't want to spend $5 for an NES controller. Oh, I don't want to go into one of those Luna video game or retro game stores. I'm going to go buy it online. I'm going to buy a $49 OEM. Where are they getting brand new NES controllers?
Well, they probably sourced. Look, we already said that this is not going to move huge amounts. They probably sourced a small number of them that are brand new off of eBay. I mean, we're talking they probably have 25 sitting around, maybe.
Sure.
And it's first come, first serve. Yeah, no, I mean, that's what it is. It's rich kids who are going to order it, and then they're going to go, I don't want to go looking for the stuff. So they're just, if you're paying $500 for a Nintendo anyways, you don't care about $50 for another controller.
This is like the champagne room, basically.
Yeah.
You know that it's stupid to spend $800 for a few bottles of alcohol, but you're going to do it just because you can.
Because you can.
And it'll help you get the babes, too.
Well, I don't know if that's...
Oh, your anodized aluminum system. Oh, and $29 for a component cable. There you go.
Gross.
So you have it.
All right.
I can say this because they're not going to send me a test system anyway. So the Analogue Nt, pre-order it now if you want to have a system as a status, symbol.
Just put it on a chain and literally wear it around your neck.
That'd be heavy, though.